Welcome, everyone, to the Meaningful Hearts Podcast, where we discuss the everyday questions that make us or break us if we let them. I am your host, Drew. Take my hand and let's walk this journey together. Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the Meaningful Hearts Podcast. I am Drew, and we are back with another discussion for today. What is happiness? What is happiness to you? What does it mean? What do you perceive that as? Do you perceive that as a inviting thought in your mind? Do you think of this as a thing that you still ponder about? What is happiness? What is it to you? Is it a perception of what we consider the nirvana, the end game, the place we'll eventually make it in our lives as we go to the next step in our life and the next step after that? A short-term goal that will make us feel bliss? Maybe it's something really short. Maybe getting that job promotion is what you perceive happiness to be. Maybe it's money. Maybe having a family. Maybe you're a single guy looking to get married and eventually start a family, if that's what happiness may look like to you. Or maybe it's the idea of whatever we are chasing that brings us to our final destination is what our happiness is. Whatever that goal is for you, maybe that's what you perceive as happiness. I'm just curious. What is it to you? What is the first thing that you think about when you wake up in the morning? What is it? Maybe that's what brings you happiness. Yeah. Some of us, I think, maybe have a misconception of happiness versus joy. Maybe what we're really pursuing is joy. The feeling associated with happiness. That moment in time where you feel great. You feel content. You feel full. Maybe that's what you consider happiness. And maybe you're trying to chase that feeling again because joy doesn't last, right? Depending on what's going on in your life, you have ups and downs. That's normal. But there's really not a place that you have where you just hit this level of happiness. You might find joy in the ups and downs of life where that middle point is. But happiness, do you really think happiness is this something that you just achieve and it just stays in your life and then everything's all sunshine and rainbows? I don't believe so. I actually believe that the story that you're being told or being sold to, happiness is a lie. You ever watch a McDonald's commercial? And you see a happy family eating and rejoicing around the TV and just everything's just going perfect. They sell you on that image. Now that image shows a happy family, right? And it brings you joy to see that. It almost makes you want to eat McDonald's, right? So you go chase after that. That sells products. Happiness sells products. The perception of happiness sells products, makes you spend your money. Because ultimately, we're trying to chase that exact thing. But I'm sorry to say this to you, but that's not how you do it. That will never give you what you're expecting. It won't. You'll be sadly mistaken that you've been chasing a lie your whole life. You will. But what you want to focus on, what you really want to focus on is joy. Now, how do we get joy? How do we come across this thing called joy? So many things are going wrong in our lives. So many things, or maybe some things are going wrong in our lives. And we're just like, if I could only have this, or if I could only have that, I would be happy. I would find my happy place. I'd be happy. Happiness would be there. That's where I would sit. But in reality is, things don't happen that way. They don't. You can't set a false expectation called happiness. You can't. Because you're always going to chase a ghost. It's just not there. But you can find moments of joy in your life and a steady portion of your life where there's going to be ups and downs, but you will see joy and you will find joy in it. That does exist. That does. And that's what we're mostly mistaking for what we call happiness. Because we think that we just need happiness, and once we're in this happy moment, it'll just last forever. And no, that's just moments of joy. That's great to chase wanting that, but there are things in your life that you need to do in order to feel some of that. But it's not guaranteed to stay, because no matter how much fun or how good your life is, there are downsides to life. That's just a fact. There's no nirvana. There's no nirvana that you reach. You don't just happily ever after. Happily ever after is another misconception. What you perceive to be a happy ending, there is still things that you have to overcome in your life. You have to. Because the reward of overcoming is that joy, is that happiness. It's a reward that you get, and your body craves it. You crave it. But it's not meant to be a consistent place to live, because if you lived in constant joy and happiness, or whatever you want to call it, you would be miserable, because you would have no contrast between the two, happiness and joy and sad, and being sad. You would have no contrast. It would be too much dessert. Yeah, as a child, who doesn't want to think, oh man, I could eat cupcakes every day, breakfast, lunch, and dinner? Yeah, try that. You'll never look at a cupcake again. After a day or two, you'll never want to look at a cupcake again. But our mind tells us we could live in this moment forever. We could eat this thing forever. It's not true. Just can't. You need a contrast of that. We need some of that switch up. We need drama. We need it in our lives to keep us healthy and sustained. Being happy or being joyous all the time, it's not sustainable. So the feeling is joy. The feeling is joy. Even I was using happiness, right? Poor choice of words. The feeling is joy. We're chasing joy, but we get it in small spurts. But this quote unquote happiness, it's like, it's not an achievement you get in life. You don't get it. It just doesn't exist. It's not how it works. It's really an illusion that we chase. And a lot of people want to paint these pictures. Like I said, it's used a lot in marketing because it gets you into the mood to buy. It paints the picture of who you could be. It's speaking directly to you. It's intentionally done that way. Beautiful marketing. Marketing's not the enemy. Marketing's not the enemy. Don't get it twisted. I'm a big fan of marketing. But it's your choice in order to make those purchases or make those beliefs happen. It's just easier to dive into that and see it and believe that it truly exists. It's your mind. It's feeding your mind these thoughts. You just have to be like, that's beautiful. I like that. But let's get real. And that's really all I have to do is snap out of that. But the illusion, yes, it's an illusion. Humans have evolved with modern living because at one point in their lives, they wanted more. They've evolved into it. The way we live now is not the way we lived 100 years ago or 200 years ago, 300 years ago. We chased after a better life, and we thought that would be our happiness. But we evolved. That's all we did, and we wanted more. So in essence, it's never going to end chasing. You're never going to stop chasing. What you got to do is you got to look at your overall picture and say, I find joy in my life, and that's what I'm focusing on, is just finding the joy in my life. Not finding a destination called happiness, because that is complete and utter bullshit. Doesn't fucking exist. Doesn't. It's sprinkled here and there. Joy. It's beautiful. It's a sweet spot. It's a sweet spot where you're You know, there's things going on in your life that that are not savory per se, but life isn't bad and can get a little bit better. But I'm in a good solid stance where I'm content with the way I feel. I'm joyous enough to appreciate things that I have, but I'm always going to want more in a healthy manner. It becomes unhealthy when you chase it like it's this unicorn that you're finally going to catch. That's the worst thing you could do. You got to be realistic with yourself. Because there are a lot of things that we avoid doing because we don't feel happy doing them. But they still need to get done. They still need to get done. There are things in our lives that we avoid. We literally avoid them because it's like, oh, I don't want to do that. It's hard, or it's too much. There's too much work involved with it. Unfortunately, that is the wrong way to look at it. Because just because you don't want to do it does not mean that it can't lead to joy. It's a reward-based system. Certain things that you do require more of you and more effort before you get the payoff. I'll sprinkle a little bit of joy, but it's there. See, that's why we can't use happiness as like a compass to have a better life. Because let's be honest with you, happiness, quote unquote, happiness could be laying in bed all day, right? Laying in bed all day and just taking in some more Z's, right? But let's be honest with you, if you stayed in bed for a week, you wouldn't get shit done. You wouldn't do anything. And you'd probably feel miserable after that. You wouldn't feel joy finding out that maybe you lost your job or you know, your goldfish died because you never fed it. It seemed like it. Seemed like an amazing idea, right? Because it made you at that moment feel that bliss, right? But in reality, it's not realistic. Let's get real now. It's not realistic. Getting out of bed takes some effort. And sometimes you're like, I'd do anything to stay in this bed for 4 more hours. But you finally come to it. You get up out of bed. And then after you're up for a while, you're not thinking of bed still, I hope. Well, that was a little tough for you to do, but you did it, right? It's the same thing with anything worth achieving. It requires more effort than getting out of bed. But once you start moving forward and you start to see some progress, you start to like it a little bit, and you actually start to feel some joy out of that. Not give or take in your life, you'll actually start to feel something out of that. And you didn't buy anything, you didn't spend any money, but you're feeling this joy, the joy of accomplishing something, the joy of moving forward towards something. So, but we cannot take these routes that avoid hard things, thinking that, oh, that's not the way, and it doesn't make me feel, doesn't make me feel this happiness that I'm seeking. So I'm gonna go book a vacation, and I'm gonna go there and hide away from my life for 2 weeks, and then that'll solve everything, and then I'll come back and I'll just be miserable again. No, it's just not realistic. It's really not. So what is happiness? Happiness doesn't exist. It's a fucking fable. It's bullshit. It doesn't exist. You could feel joy in things, but an overload of just sitting in this one place where nothing but sweet things happen to you, no. Because that doesn't help you. It doesn't help you be a better human. It doesn't help you be better in any way. We're meant to work. Humans are meant to be put through pressure and exercise and go through tough things. That's how we evolve. That's how our brain evolves. That's how our body evolves. It requires this. You're growing up in this day and age, you won't understand it off the bat, right? But if you really look, some of the most successful people, even some of the most, most successful, but people a long time ago, 150 years ago, had multiple things that they did successfully. You know, they were in politics, they were inventors, they did a lot of things. Think about it. And we're here just trying to hold down one job and maybe getting ahead by working on a project that we've been putting off for a while. Think about it. We're coddled. We're very coddled. We live better than most did. I mean, the way you live now, the standards of where you live now trumps what a king would be, 100, 200 years ago. Think about what you have in front of you. You have refrigeration. You have running water. You have the internet. You can look up something at the blink of an eye and get instant information. You could pay somebody something remotely. It's crazy. I'm going off on a tangent is what I'm doing right now. But just to tell you that we get lost. We get lost in thinking that like we're going to stumble upon this city of Atlantis, and it's going to be like we're going to live there and everything's going to be sunshine and rainbows. That's bullshit. Find joy in your life now. Look in the things that you have in your life and see that there is little sprinkles of it everywhere. There's sprinkles of it everywhere. There are people that have nothing, and they do things with a Kodak smile. Why is that? Based on your standards, they should be pretty miserable, right? They find joy in things in their lives. They find joy in the next day and the day after that. And there are things in their lives that they feel the same way you do about something in your life. They're able to do that. But it's not like they're looking for this one place where they just stop and be happy for the rest of their lives. It's not realistic. It's really not. But does not mean that life is going to be so miserable for you. I just think that we have the wrong idea about it. And it's sold to you every day. It's sold to you every single day. Because that's the easiest way to communicate to most people. It's very easy. It's very easy to communicate to people in this way. So a lot of people fall for it. And that's why a lot of people get into debt. A lot of people financially, they medicate themselves with going out on vacations, maybe drinking or whatever, going out, at the end of the week. They shop, they buy things they don't need just because they want to feel it. They want to feel what they want to create this, maybe their house is small. And so they buy like a nice big TV and they buy all this extra stuff and think, I can make my own little nirvana where I could just be happy all the time. And that fades away because after the purchase is there and the bill's coming in, you're starting to feel stressed again. And you're starting to say, well, I don't feel the way I thought it was going to feel. So you keep chasing it, keep chasing it, keep chasing it, keep chasing it. But in reality is, we can find joy in less. It's inside of us. It's our choice in order to select things and feel a certain way about them. It's not a new thing. It's not money in the bank. That's not going to do it. It might help stimulate the thought of it, but it's not what gives you joy. And certainly you'll never arrive at this place called happiness, because there are people of all different types in this world that have way more than anybody could ever imagine, or way less than anybody ever imagined. And the results aren't definitive, where the richest person in the world is the happiest and the poorest person in the world is the most miserable. There's mixed results in that. And the reason being is because it's the mindset of how you deal with things. It's really the mindset. I want to know what are your quirks? I want to know now. I would love for you guys to write into me and ask, or not ask, but and tell me when you're feeling down, what is your vice? What is the thing that you do? I'm not going to judge anyone. I'm just curious. Whether it's, maybe you hit the bottle, maybe you hit the bong, maybe you, I don't know, play video games. Maybe you go shopping. I want to know. And I want to know how it's worked for you. Because it's almost like us pulling a tantrum, right? Things aren't working out for me, so I'm going to go hide away and be miserable and be mad and feel bad for myself, right? A lot of us do that too. I'm guilty of it. I've done it, where I just want to hide. But it's never really gotten me anywhere. Because eventually you have to crawl out of that hole and you have to be an adult and you have to go make something happen. And you overcome it. You overcome it to an extent. Because if you didn't overcome it, you'd still be thinking about it and you'd still be dwelling in it and you'd probably be in some really bad shape. So you do eventually overcome it. And you think, you know what? That wasn't as bad as I thought it was. I was overreacting. But I'm back. Listen, we're allowed to be human beings. That's normal. Be a human being. I'm not saying don't. I'm just curious as to what everybody does when they're having a bad day or they're feeling really bad or maybe they're really depressed or upset. What are you doing? I'm just curious. I would love to know. And I would also like to know what makes you feel joy. That we've actually come to confirm that's joy. What makes you feel joy? Make a list. Write in. Send me what you wake up every day and feel. You know, the things that you may not like, and there are things that you really do love and enjoy. I want to know what those things are. Tell me. It'll help me, I'm sure. There are things that I might overlook and may not see that way. And then somebody comes along and sends me something and it might put some perspective in my life because I'm still looking to grow and learn as well. There are a lot of times where I can't find joy in that moment or I can't find joy in the day. But I always kind of search for something to be meaningful, which will in turn give me joy. This podcast gives me joy. I don't make a dime off of it as of right now, but it gives me joy to speak. It gives me a platform to speak and to speak to other people who are maybe going through the same thing or maybe have the same mindset of growth. That brings me joy to know there's others out there. It really does. It really does. And I'm looking to spread joy to other people. And I want people to spread joy back to me. It's beautiful. Right? And this is just a platform to speak and talk. And this is a platform where I'm allowed to, I'm able to reach out to others and maybe have people on my show that can educate me or give me some insight. I'm excited about that. That brings me joy. I added this element into my life. It wasn't there before, but now it is. It's another avenue for me to sprinkle a little happiness into my happiness or joy, right? We use happiness a lot. I'm guilty of it, but right? We find things to sprinkle those little things in. So I use this. I read books to educate myself and learn other things. Happiness is not a location. It's not a location you arrive at. It's joy that you're feeling. So I really just want you to think about that. It's been a pleasure speaking to you. I love you all. Thank you so much for listening. This is the Meaningful Hearts Podcast.